right?
Looks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So our first question is like set mismatch. So array of numbers is given to us, and we have to find which number is missing in that array.
Hello. Hey, Shashank.
Hello.
Yeah. Is he sharing or did we lose him? Oh, yeah. I think we lost him. Okay, the recording is still there. Okay, let me at least start sharing the screen. Okay, it was the first question, right? Yeah. In the meantime, it picks up. Okay. So you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Santosh.
Okay. Yeah. So the first question, he was talking about the set mismatch, and it says that we have a set S of numbers from whatever 1 to n, and one of the number is a duplicate and the other will be missing, right? So because of some data error and all that, so we need to find a number which is missing and which is a duplicate. So we are given like an example, we are given an array of nums where we have such numbers like 1 2 4, which actually start from 1 to 4. So we have a duplicate number 2 and we have a missing number 3. So we need to return an output which is like the first will be the duplicate number and second will be the missing number. And the constants given are like it will be array size will be the range from at least 2 till 10,000, and the given arrays won't have any order. Okay, they won't be they won't be sorted. Okay, so that's what uh, is a problem statement. So I think it's clear, right? We just have to find if what number is duplicate in this array list and which one is missing.
Right,
Yeah.
and the return vector has to be in a specific order. The number
Yeah.
which,
Right. So yeah, return vector has to be in that order. That's correct. And I don't think so. We have any other because it's not sorted. It's not ordered, so it's not sorted. So yeah. So how would we think of solving this, or maybe a approach or any issues not understanding the problem statement? Any clarification is required?
yeah. So first thing, I mean, pure brute force would be we can use a hash map to find the duplicate element,
Hmm.
and then since we are
One
given that,
second. Harshit, can you speak a bit louder?
yeah, sure. So I'm saying that for a brute force, we can take a hash map and find a duplicate element. All right. So we have a
Right.
duplicate. Then we are given that the number. I mean, the number. These numbers are in a sequence, 1 to n. So what we do is we can find the sum of numbers from 1 to n, that is n into n plus 1 by 2, and we can find the sum of our array. Now, this array sum would be the sum of numbers from 1 to n minus the missing number plus the duplicate. So we have the duplicate, we have both these sums, so we can form a mathematical equation and then find the missing number.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So you are saying we need to have a map, and then we'll be using the map to find the duplicates, right?
Right. We can avoid the map. We can avoid the map by kind of, since the numbers are in the given range, we can use them as indices and mark them as negative. Like if, and again, if we find that that index is negative, then we say that that particular index is the duplicate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but that is an optimized version. Yeah,
Right. Right. I
yeah,
was talking about the both ways.
yeah. So no, but
Harshit, in the second approach that you shared,
Mhm.
when we were taking the sum of all the elements, can you take the example one and please explain that?
Yeah. Sure.
yeah, okay. I'll just stop sharing and go ahead.
Yeah. So my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let's take an example. Let's say the given array is this, right? And the sequence of numbers from 1 to 4 would be 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
For this, the sum would be 10,
N.
and for this, it would be 9, right?
Right.
So what I was saying it was that we find the duplicate element. So a duplicate element would be 3.
How would
And
you find a duplicate element?
I said using a hash map, an ordered map.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, then it's fine. Then afterwards you'll be taking the sum and then subtracting, right?
Yeah, so basically my
Got
array
it.
sum would be this. Uh,
So you'll be taking something like array sum minus
original
the duplicate
sum
element.
minus my missing number plus the duplicate, right?
Right. Got it. Oh, okay. I thought you were
But
finding the
We have
duplicate
these three things. We have,
how you
without
are
using
finding
the
the
map.
missing number? Like if because you
no,
will be able to get from a hash map, you will be able to get the duplicate.
right. So we have the duplicate. Now I'll use this equation
Okay,
where
got it.
I have, yeah. So I
Yeah.
have the array sum, the origin sum, and this duplicate. So I'll get the missing number.
Yes. Got it. And instead of hash map, we can take a set as well. That if the number already exists, if it again exists, then if
Yeah,
it
yeah.
already
Right.
contains, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like
avoid.
i- is there any other way for that, like for without using any extra space for finding the duplicate element?
Yeah, we can do that. Since we are given that these numbers are between 1 to n.
No,
So
yeah. That's the most optimized approach, right? So I'm asking about in this specific approach only when we are taking the sum. So is there any other way? Because I could come up with this approach, but I was not able to think that. Uh, can we somehow use the
Other
sum
thing is
property
like
to find the
then
duplicate?
without taking a extra memory, what I was thinking is sort it out and check if there is a duplicate. But that also complexity by that would be increasing.
right.
I have done that without extra space, so that involves XOR. So I had to, kind of take a lot of passes, but this is without any extra space.
Yeah, the other way is yeah, XOR. Correct.
Yeah.
Taking a XOR and that would
Yeah. So
be
we'll have to take XOR a couple of times. Once through the array and once through the numbers from 1 to n. So yeah, that is like the most optimized, I believe, maybe.
Yeah. So there are other ways also, like the way you were saying that you can actually make modify the array, input array itself, right?
Right. So
So
there's
that is
another way, like we have one equation, the other equation we can form from the products of these two, like one from the sequence and one from the array. And then using that two equations, we can find these two variables, missing number and the duplicate.
uh, How is that?
So
Yeah, x plus y whole square minus x minus y equal to 2xy, right? 4xy.
yeah, basically we need two equations. So
Mhm.
if we avoid the hash map and if we kind of obtain two equations, so one would be this and the other, as Shashank was saying, that we take that thing. Uh, so I was saying the product thing, like if we take the array product and this
The product of the array.
and the product of 1 to n, like 1 into 2 into 3 till n,
Okay.
and then we can like use this. So basically, this would be original product upon missing number into the duplicate, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a minute.
It,
But then also again we need to have that duplicate value. Then only we need to, or we
No,
can find it.
we have two equations, right?
Harshit, just one question. Instead of product, can we use like a square sum? Because product
Yeah.
is gonna be exceed our limit. So would it be better we use 1 square plus 2 square summation,
Yeah.
sigma n square, sigma I square.
Yeah, this
And
would
we'll get
surely.
that
Right.
that will give us two equations, two variables. Okay, I think that will completely solve the problem without without uh, disarranging the original array and just having the two equations.
Right, and that would never lead to overflow.
Yeah, that will never lead to overflow. Yes.
Yeah, this would probably lead to overflow.
Yeah.
This,
Zor avoids
That's the
that
only
problem.
No,
avoid
but
about this.
in this case also, when you are using duplicate, you will still need a state or map to find out, right?
in this
Uh-huh.
two equation approach.
Yeah.
No, I'm not finding these two. I'm just obtaining these two equations. That's it. I'm not
Uh,
using any hash map or something.
I guess we don't need a map because we just have a one. Let us take the missing number A and the duplicate number B. Okay. So with A and B, simply 1 degree relation can be get from the first equation,
Oh,
and
okay.
the
Yeah.
2 degree, 2 degree equation relation will get from the second equation. Then it will be
Yeah.
solvable. Yeah.
I got it. Yeah. No problem. Makes sense. Yeah. So we have two equations and then we can solve them. Yeah. That will be the most efficient way of doing it, right?
Yeah, but as Devan mentioned, this array product, this would lead to arithmetic overflow.
Correct.
Yeah. So as you were saying, we can take the squares also. Devan, would you like to explain that?
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll do it. Okay.
Okay.
But how will product an array of numbers, square of numbers will be same?
Yeah, let me just, it's just math. I think we have to just do the calculation. Okay, so it's suppose one summation sigma. So it's like a sigma, so 1 plus 2 plus sigma till n. Okay, so it's n plus n1 by n into n plus 1 by 2. Okay, so what the sum 1 square? Okay, so if we gonna take 1 square plus 2 square. So this will lead us to equation 1 upon 6 n plus 1, 2n plus 1. Okay. Yeah. So n 1 plus 1. I think this is the correct formula, I guess. Yeah.
No,
So,
it is
okay.
one
Is it
more n plus one. One more n plus one will be there.
Oh,
N into n.
yeah. I'm missing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So it's right now, I think, I guess.
It's
Yeah.
a square of the previous formula. That's it.
No, that's n cube. That's n cube plus, that's 1 cube plus 2 cube plus 3 cube. So that
Oh.
formula which you were saying about is the cube of that linear one, square of the linear one. This is explicitly the formula of summation square. Okay, so we'll have the two equations. Suppose this is the given, we have the given sum. Okay, so that just the sum includes so given sum includes the repetition. Let me take the repetition digit as repeat. So repetition digit to be as A. Okay, and the missing digit to be B. Okay, so yeah, repetition digit to be A and a missing digit to be B. So given sum plus A gives me what the sum has to be. So it's something like this. Okay, this one. Okay, this should be the sum. So okay, I get a little confused. Okay, so if I just subtract A from it and add B. Okay. So now, yeah, this will be the relation with us. Okay, this will be, we calculate this in a linear time, and this will be just calculate with a single formula, and this is the A B minus relation we get. Okay, and same given sum square. Okay, so this is the second relation which holds. Okay, so this gives the missing the term that is repeating is coming twice. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, and the missing term we should add to it as well. And yeah, this formula will hold. Yeah, so that's it. I think we have to traverse the array times. No, it's just a linear traversing. We'll calculate the two things sequentially.
So if you are saying this given, what do you mean by this given sum? Like it would be the array sum which we'll be having, or it would be the original sum which would need to be?
Yeah, it will be the given sum. It will be the original sum, that original array that is given to us. Okay, sum of all the digits of the array that is given to us, that has the repetition and a missing number as well.
Both would be like in given 2 as well and in given as well.
I think both is same.
I think given 2 is it will be a square of that
Yeah.
given.
Okay.
Yeah. Given two is the given 2 is the repeat those digits present in the array times
The
their
square of
square
it.
as well.
Okay, the total sum of the given array, square of the total sum of the array given.
Yes.
Okay. That sounds interesting.
And then we can, yeah, I think we, yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's good. But you'll have to square the first equation, correct? The LHS
Yes,
and
yes.
RHS, and then
But
yeah, you might
Squaring
get.
of I was saying squaring of a big number will also, overflow will be there, arithmetic overflow, right?
Well, yeah, let us see how big is the digit. So it's a 10 raised to the power 5. So let us see. It's 10 raised to the power 5. Okay, so if 10 raised to power 5 is 10 raised to the power 10. Okay, so a normal digit is 10 raised to the power. It's a 32-bit or it's a 10-digit number. Nah. So let us take long into. Okay, yeah, I think. So it's 10 raised to power 32 is the limitation of an integer. Okay, so 10 raised to power 32. It's 2 to the power 32. Na? So it's 2 to the power is 10 raised to power 10. Yeah, it will be a little overflow cases, I think.
Yeah.
There will be certain overflow. Yeah, we can take a long int, I think. This will work well.
Yeah, that is good. But for the interview, I would say, this is a mathematical, way to approach the problem. But they would still expect us to do something algorithmic way or using some data structures, correct? So, but this is a good way of saying one thing. But that will still not be. Yeah.
I also thought of doing it with like a bit masking.
Mhm.
But the problem here is a normal integer is just constrained to 2 to the power 32, and like a long int is to be considered just 64. Okay, so here the limitation is up to 1000. So that doesn't work for me. I think that would work if this would be given something like an alphabetic order array. Okay.
I did not get what you were trying to say.
So yeah, so I think I saw this method in string while doing some questions for the string. So there is given a like a array of a string or like a array of a characters or a string. So we have to find the repeating element. Okay. So we take like an index. Okay, integer. So every time we do a bit masking for it. Okay. So every time if the yeah if yeah so if this comes out to be yes, so if this comes out to be true, okay, so we'll tell that this number is repeating, else we just keep an or operation. Okay, so we return
No,
this
I think
number
you'll have to
inside.
use XOR there. I mean,
Uh,
in place of AND, if you use XOR, then if two numbers are same, it will give you 0, right?
Yeah, so that's why if this and operation gives me like a and operation gives me true, so this means that the number is actually repeated, which you just see this a second. I think hopefully this will
Uh,
do
I
something.
think AND should have
Yeah.
been replaced with XOR. Okay.
Yeah, I think yeah. So I think this will make clear. So if this is not true, then this relation will hold. So basically, for that big numbers, like it can be just a 20 like a 32 number. Okay, so it's 1 0 0 1 0 0 0. So if I'm looking after something like this index, so if it's actually significant in a given in the already given array. So like now I have like a this I to this is 1 2 1 3 4 5. So yeah, so I'm doing now uh, so
32.
yeah. So yeah, if I'm doing something like 1 2 to the power 5, okay, so this will return me true. Okay, so this operation will return me true because the one digit is already significant there. Okay, so this returns me true, which shows that this index is already repeating. So this index can be like if I take an alphabetical order A B C comma D. Okay, so A can be given as an index 0 or like index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4. So what if I think E should be like 5? E gives me 5. So I will tell that E is already repeating in our string. So E is already repeated to our string. That's why it is significant already. And so if it is already so if this operation gives me a true value, it shows that this E is repeating. So I just return E.
Well, I am not getting this, what you are
Yeah, I
trying to
think
come
in
up
place
with.
of AND, it should be XOR, right?
Yeah, because if you have a bit set at one position, take an example.
Yes.
If you come for number 2, you will have a bit set for index last second one, right? Okay, but then
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
come for 3, you will still have that bit set, right?
Yes, but it will show that the 3 is repeating in that case, no?
No. If you have 2, okay, first you have number 2, look for that
Yeah,
bit set, or you
yeah,
set that bit,
yeah.
right? But then you come
So
for
2,
3, then you will say 3 is a repeating, but in that case 3 is not repeating, correct?
yeah. Okay. So yeah. So let me start it. Let me start this. So I have this operation called so
Okay,
1 2
let's
comma
take the
3.
same example what we have 1 2 2 4.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
sir. Yeah. So 1 2 3 4. So originally we have 1 2 3 4. So let me 1 2 2 4. Now yeah. Okay. So it's
Yeah.
1 2 2 4. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this one number 1. So
Okay.
1. Okay. So I have post 1 2 0. Okay. So initially while traversing. Okay. So there is a for loop here. So this
Okay.
completely is in a for loop. Okay. So this is in a for loop. So this is gonna return me a false. Okay, for this case because position is initialized to 0. So what I do right now is this this vector, like this is a 32-bit number. Okay, so let me just avoid the initial number. But what is gonna have it finally is this first position is gonna become significant. So yeah, so this is the bit number that I have right now. Now I move to I++ operation. So now, so it's okay, yeah. So it's like I'm taking the second index of the second index. So it's 2. Okay. So now the 2 is, it's again returns false because 2 is somewhere here. Okay. But this is 0 right now. So I again do an AND or operation. So finally this will become 1. Okay. So now second time when I just move to 2, I again do this operation. I like left shift this I up to like 2 digits. So when I move here, this returns me true. So which shows that 2 is repeating into my array. So yeah, so this returns me. So this will return true for this second 2. So I will just automatically return this.
Okay. So you are trying to say in your line 75, you are actually ORing I actually left shift with I, right?
Yeah, doing the OR operation.
Yeah,
left
but
shift of
so
I.
in that case, if it is 4, you are going to shift 4 number 4
Yeah,
bits,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. If it's 1,000, I have to shift 1,000, but that doesn't work.
Yeah, so because you know the range is like 10,000.
Yeah. The range.
So then this won't work because we don't even have a long, right?
Yes.
Either what you can do is you can use a string, okay, and then always what you say, like convert it into string for each and every operation, but that will be an expensive operation, I would say, right? Because we might have, if you really are thinking of bit manipulation, we have much better algorithms or maybe better approaches than converting into string or maybe using a very big number, right?
I think yeah, with the string it may work because we can take a like a 11,000 long string and each
Right, yeah.
initialize to just 0 characters. Every
Yeah.
time I just have to go. So if it's I is like a 998, I have to just look at the 998th character. Okay, so I first take the character,
Yeah.
find if it's but yeah. Every
But-
time just updating this I is gonna take a
Yeah, and also it's like almost you are using more extra space, correct?
yeah extra,
And that is what we
lot
were
of
trying to avoid, because you gave that approach, the math approach. It was really good, but it was actually not involving any space. Time of complexity was also good, but here you are adding more space because you thought of going away from space, because Harsh's solution had a map, right? So he was
Yes,
trying to
yes.
go away. In fact, map is slightly more efficient way than having a big array of strings, correct?
And
Yes.
the other approach which we discussed, like taking n into n plus 1 upon 6, 2, and then square of it, I am solving it, but I didn't get that answer of mine. So maybe I think there is some trick. If you have solved this kind of a question with the approach, please.
Yeah, you are saying the implementation, right? The detailed implementation.
Yeah, no, I haven't coded, but I was just doing mathematically
Mhm.
on a paper, but I was not getting an answer.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get the 48th equation as a linear equation, and from here we'll get the p value in terms
Yeah,
of a.
I got
Okay.
that. I am solving it.
Yeah.
The same thing I am doing.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
then
that is also a good one. So why don't you do one thing, Devan? If you can find it, if you are able to implement it, will you please share that in our Discord channel?
yeah, sure, we'll do it. Yeah,
So it will
we'll
be
do
helpful for all. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do this.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. But thanks for giving different approaches. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, Shashank did it with Zorna. I just
Yeah, let us see what he has to say. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Even I did with the approach of taking a temporary array of n number of n size plus one number of like size of the array, and then just put a minus one if I get another same element at that index, that would be my already existing element. And also this way, I just check if any number is negative, is left negative, that's a missing number.
Okay.
Similar.
So you're trying to modify the input array there, right?
No. I'm taking extra memory of them.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. If you can quickly share that, that will be good.
Sure.
Okay.
Just a Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So here I'm taking an extra array of size this, and then I am marking if element is already, so if number is a new, I'm going to that particular index and marking it 1. And if already it is 1, then I'll be saying that element is already existing. That's a variable. And that's, I found my, that means I got the existing element, which is duplicate elements, you can say. And here, if I'm going to the loop again, I pass this nums, but it should be like temporary array. That doesn't, it's okay. And if I get any negative, which is not -1, which is not a 1, then I found my missing number. And then I return that element exists in missing number. And that is order of n, but the only constraint is the order of n temporary array. It's n size of extra memory.
Yeah, here you could have saved that space directly indexing inside the array itself. Like, let's say you are at 0th index, the element you saw the 1, then go to the index 1 and mark that number as negative.
Yeah, she wanted to do it with using extra space.
So how you are saying I can resolve that without taking an extra space?
Like an array.
I think Shashank was there.
Yeah, sure. So let's say like this is the 0th index. So and this is 1. Let's start. This is 1 index. This is because number is from 1 to n. So
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. So when you go at 1 index, it will take you to this. Take the value and go to its here itself. So it will make you -1. Now when you go to 2. So 1, it will be -1. Next time when you face 2, it will take you to this number itself, which shows, and this number is already negative. So which shows that this number is repeating, right?
Okay, so you're saying it is like modifying the original array.
Array, yeah.
Okay, then also it will work. Yeah.
The same thing what we are doing, only avoiding this.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, got this approach. Yeah, thank you.
Shashank, one thing, I think we'll have to decrease our numbers by 1 because no, I don't think so.
0 indexing it is or 1 indexing?
No, it's 0 indexing only. But I don't think we need that.
Like 1 index. This is 1. And went to this array and took the index.
I think we'll have to because we have 0 indexing only, right?
It's not mandatory. Like, depends on our choice. Like what way.
No, but in otherwise,
I think we'll have to.
this is position is 0. If we take num 0, this would occur 1. We'll get 1 element. Position which is at 0. It's up to our implementation how we are building it. But but if you call the array and ask the index 0 value, it will give you 1.
Then +1 I'll do to that. And then
It is required because our length is 4, and our element last is a 4. So that's why it is required to go to extend of it so that I'll get the value, the last value 4. Like length of nums. So it would be like it would be having 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These and 0 you can neglect, either because you have to work with these indexes.
No. So what I was saying, that if you find, say my size is 5, and if you find an element 5, then if you try to access the index 5, that would give you a segmentation fault,
So
right?
it would give in your original array that, but if you are taking extra memory and
No, I'm not
extra
talking about
memory.
the memory one. I was talking about the what Shashank
Oh,
was saying.
so yeah, Shashank approach. Oh yeah, that's also a constraint. I didn't.
Yeah, because the number is starting from 1 and the index starts from 0. So we just need to subtract 1 in order to handle that.
Yes.
Number
Yes.
will start from 1, right?
But so he's right. Like if we have like 1, 2, 3, 4 over here, like 4, we don't have a 4 index.
Index. Yeah.
We have 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 index. We don't have a fourth index.
Yeah, +1 I'll do every time. Like I'll take the number, take the value and do +1 to it.
Okay.
Or -1, you're
Yeah.
saying.
Or -1. Yeah, the other one.
So let's see what Shashank has implemented, right?
Zor I haven't. Zor I think Harshit has done that Zor
Oh,
approach.
okay.
I have done the normal that square one, like what Harshit and Devan was saying.
Can you share that approach?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Mine was like so. This. So this is the length of the what length of the array. Then sum of n natural numbers is n into n plus 1, and here what I'm doing, I'm taking removing the duplicates from my array. So I'll take the sum of 1, 2 and 4 and sum them and subtract out of this number. So that will give you what is the missing number? And for duplicates, the equation what Harshit was sharing, sum of the original nums plus miss minus s, it will give me the duplicate. So duplicate and miss.
So you are
Right.
not taking the extra memory over here.
Maybe, but it will hit arithmetic overflow you can get here, right? Because of any plus.
And yeah,
Also,
you are doing a
it will take memory, right?
and you are doing a set.
Set I'm doing extra space.
How can, because your array size is only 10,000, right? So I don't think so you should be getting.
Yeah, here maybe not in this, like in let's say if the constraint is not given. Interviewer can come up, right? Any large.
Yeah, that's true. But as per this scope of this question, this
Here
should
it's
be
working.
fine. Yeah, it should
Yes.
work, right? Yeah. This is a good one.
The one which Harshit has taken, like many methods of
Okay.
Zor.
Can you share this on a chat over here only? I just need to.
Sure. I'll share it.
So Harshit is sharing that
Yeah.
the XOR one. Yeah, okay. Or maybe even the modified input one.
I didn't code that modified input. I
Okay.
have Zor one.
Yeah, because that is very clear, right? Based on whatever Sonia did, it's exactly the same, but we are just modifying the input array, correct?
Yeah, since the range is between the indices.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we are
and
just-
instead of going to that index, you should go to index -1.
Right. That's the only small thing. Yeah, we done. Okay, good.
But modified index, like modified input array won't give us in often, right?
Why?
It would give order of 10, but it will not take
Yeah,
the
time complexity won't be often for that approach.
It will be, right?
No, for example, let's take first index pointing us to some kth index, and that kth index pointing some other. We map that, but then again we need to come back and check that who is second index element is correct or not, like that.
No, we have to do 2 passes, but we always we iterate the nums array one by one, okay, and either modify it or look for a duplicate. And in the second pass, just go through the array again because we have modified the input array to negative numbers, okay. If we find anyone which is positive, that will be a missing number.
Yeah,
So
but
that
what
can happen. That can happen in a single pass.
What I'm
Two
saying
pass,
is,
sorry, yeah.
3 was in the first position. First was in the 3 position. So that was only one cycle. So again, you need to check the second index and check whether 2 was in fifth position, 5 was in second position. So that could be second cycle. And there could be so many cycles. First, we need to
We need to
set
go
all the
based
numbers.
on the numbers. Okay, you need to iterate based on the input numbers. That's all. If you do
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
then it should work. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what Harshit says. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll start from line number 12 and I'll explain this part later. So first thing I'm doing is I'm finding the XOR sum from from this array, the given array. So I have this 1, 2, 2, 4. So after XORing all these, I'll have this 1, 4, 1 XOR 4, right? So
So that will be 5, right? Yeah.
no, 1 XOR 4.
A final result is taken.
Maybe
Okay.
maybe 5. I don't know the final number.
Okay. No problem. Go ahead. Yeah.
So I was just writing all this. I'll comment this out. So now next thing I'm doing is I'm taking the XOR from 1 to n, the sequence. So basically my XOR num is 1 XOR 4, and I will take the XOR from 1, 2, 3, and 4. So after taking the XOR, I would be left with this 2 XOR 3, right? Because this 1 and 4 will get cancelled with this 1 and 4, and I'll have 2, 3.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing after this is, so basically now what I'll try to do is I'll try to form a partition of 2 numbers. So for that, the first thing I'm doing is I'm finding the rightmost different bit. So this XOR 2 XOR 3 is this 0, 1, 1, right? 0, right? So this is 2 XOR 3. Now basically these 2 bits are 1 because at these 2 positions the corresponding bits in 2 and 3 would have been different, which is visible here. So the rightmost bit of 0 of 2 is 0 and 3 is 1. So if we take a XOR of this, so if we take a XOR of this, I get this 0, 1, 1, right? So
XOR of that will be 0, 0, 1, right?
Right. 001 it should be.
XOR of
Yeah.
okay, right. 0, 0, 1. Yeah. Okay. So basically this is the different bit 1. Right, so I'm trying to find the rightmost set bit in this XOR sum. I could have found any set bit, but I'm just finding the rightmost bit. So this would be 0, 0, 1, right? And XOR of -1 would be this 0, 0, 0, and negation of this would be 1, 1, 1. So this would give me 0, 0, 1. So I have found out the rightmost different bit in the XOR sum. That is this. Is it clear till now?
Yeah.
Okay. So now moving forward, I've done this. So I've traversed the array. So basically I'm trying to now group elements. So what was my array? 1, 2, 2, 4, right? So this 1, 2, 2, 4. I'll write this here. So this and I'm gonna AND with this 0, 0, 1. Basically, I have to find in all those numbers, in which all those numbers this rightmost bit is 1. So in 1 it is So in my X, it would be initially it would be this 1. Then I will go to 2. So 2 does not have this as 1. Similarly for this 2 and similarly for this 4. So in my X, I would have 1. My X would be 1. Right. So now I'm going down. Now I am doing the same thing in my sequence also. So for 3, what would be, for 3, it would be 0, 1, 1, right? So I have X as 1 here at this stage. Now I come into this loop. I traverse my sequence from 1 to n. I do this X XOR of I. So basically, I would be all those numbers which have 1 in the rightmost bit. So it would be 1 and it would be 3, right? Because 2 and 0, 2 and 4 don't have this right bit as 1. So I have this now.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So I come down now. I'm done with the computation part. So my XOR number was 2 XOR 3. Right. Now I do XOR with X. So X would be 3. Right. So I would XOR this and I would get this 2.
Yes.
And now I'll explain why I did this difference part, because this was something which was asked, that we have to return this number in a specific sequence, like the duplicate number first and the missing number second. So what I've done is I found the difference of my like 1 to n and my array sum. So if my difference is greater than 0, then that means my missing number is the greater number. So I'll explain that. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my sequence. Now if I subtract, this would be 10 and the sum of this would be 9. So the difference is greater than 0. So which shows that the missing number is the larger number, right?
Okay.
So I'm using that thing here. So if my difference is greater than 0, then my missing number would be the max of X. X is this 3 and my other number is 2. Right. So this is 2 XOR 3 XOR 3. This is 2. So I have both of my numbers in other number and X. Right. So if my difference is greater than 0, then my missing number would be the max and my repeating number would be the minimum. So this would be 3 and this would be 2. And if the difference is less than 0, then it's just the other way around. And then I'm pushing back these two numbers and returning.
Yeah.
Yeah, any questions?
You're dividing it into 2 groups, right?
Sorry?
You're dividing the entire numbers into 2 sets of groups. One the containing.
Right.
Yeah.
Based on the difference bit, I'm dividing them into 2.
Oh, so nice.
Harshit, please share this code.
Yeah, I'll do.
Yeah, this is a good way of doing it. And I think bit manipulation, this is the only best way we could do. But we have so many things to take care of it here, right? And the most critical thing is actually dividing the numbers, as Shashank said, right? Based on the right bit, the rightmost bit. So that is something we need to do it very carefully. And that's the key here.
Yeah. And this is a frequently used technique, like in the questions where we have to find 2 distinct elements or 2 repeating elements.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
But only looking for, as per lead code, they say the easy is the easy bucket, and we see the like implementation wise, it's a lot of too much of involvement here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think so. It's that easy though.
So,
Yeah, they have many approaches for it. Yeah.
Are they also? Do they also have the solution that Harshit shared?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
The solution, do they have also the approach that Harshit shared?
Which one? That equation
No,
one?
no, this is our one approach.
This is the ZOR one.
Yeah, so in the solution, is this available?
No, it's not
Yes,
there.
yes. I
It's
think
there?
it's the last one is the same one. Yeah. The last seventh
Okay.
approach. Same approach.
Seventh one. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. If you divide the elements, right?
Yeah, but it's slightly not so easy to understand. But what the way Harshit did, it was pretty good, you know.
Yeah, we have to go like one two
Yeah,
times to.
he just walked through each and every step. That was really good too. And now it's more clear. If you read that approach in the solution, it's not easy to understand.
Yeah.
You made it easy, Harshit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just just a question. Can we just short the array, and every time we do the XOR operation? Okay, so we short the array. Okay, first of all. So I have this shorted array like 1, 2, 2, 3. Okay. Suppose I have this 1, 2, 2, and 4. Okay. So every time I do the XOR operation of index plus 1 and the element to this index. Okay. So and I check if it's 0. Okay. So if it is not 0. So if it is not 0, it is gonna be very much sure that there's something like a glitch. The position, either the element is not to its position, or the there's the missing index is there. So in this way,
Yeah.
we'll just,
So you're saying that I have the sorted array. Now what next?
yeah. Every time we do the XOR operation with index number and index plus 1, because this is the 0 index, we'll do the XOR operation of 0 plus 1 and the element present to that index. So I will do the XOR operation of 1 with 1, XOR operation of 2 with 2, 3 with 3, and 4 with 5. Okay.
Okay.
So every time when we do a XOR operation, next time we check if it's 0. If it's 0, it's very clear that the number is to its proper index. Okay. So there's nothing like a missing number or like a repeating number. Okay. But if there's some glitch. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm saying that there would always be a glitch because I think it's that the question is framed that way. So after this XOR, we have this, right?
So the missing number here is
4.
But the number starts from 0 now. Yeah. Okay. So
No,
the
this is
missing
the
number
this is the indexing, and this is the array. Line number 81.
So, but there should be some repeating number.
Yeah, repeating number. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This is an repeating. So that's why
5.
make it 5. Yeah. Okay. So let us start traversing from 0. Okay. So we'll do the XOR operation 0 plus 1 and this 1. Okay. So it's a number with a XOR operation with itself gives us 0. Okay. Now we'll check if it's 0. Yeah, there's no glitch on this index. Move to a second index. So we'll do the XOR operation of 1 plus 1 and 2. So there's nothing. So we'll again check if it's 0. Yeah, it's 0. We again check, we'll do the XOR operation 2 plus 1 and 3. Okay. So there's again nothing. Okay. Now we'll do the XOR operation of 3 plus 1 and 5. Okay. So, but that's not 0. Okay.
Right.
So we now find that there's something like either it's a missing index, either there's a missing number, or either it's on the wrong index. Okay. So we'll note its number and index, and next time we'll also traverse it. So there will be like a 2 glitch. We will completely found and we'll place it like these are the given array.
That is okay. I get your point. But how do you decide like which is the missing and which is the duplicate?
Yeah. So the first number. Okay. So yeah. So one thing is very sure, the index are to their positions. Okay. So the thing what I am calculating I plus 1. Okay. That is up to their position. So if it's not 0, then I will again check is I plus 1 equal to index. Okay. So did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I got it.
So if it's greater than 0, this is very sure that the index number to this correct index is missing. Okay. Number to this correct index is missing, which means the number that is coming is a repetition. And yeah, so that's it. Okay. So according.
Yeah, that is
minus-
right. Yeah, the index itself is a missing number, right? Index plus 1.
Yeah. So if it's not 0, I'm gonna check it again. Does I plus 1 equals to this number? So from here I can derive the results, which either it's a missing index or is it like a number? Okay, wrong, or like the double number.
Yeah, I think it will be both the numbers will be in the same glitch, right? The index will be the missing number, okay, index plus 1, and the one number what you have in hand is duplicate number.
Yeah.
I think that can work.
Yeah,
But yeah, sorting is helping there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorting is helping there, of course.
Yeah, you'll have to use sorting for that. So n log n, and no extra space. Yeah, right.
Yeah, no extra space, just for us.
Yeah, that's a good approach. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah. Shashank. Yeah.
So our next is like minimum dominoes rotations per equal flow. We are given two array, A of I and B of I, which represents the top and bottom halves of I domino. We may rotate the ith domino so that AI and BI can swap the values. We are supposed to return the minimum number of rotations so that all the values in the A will be same. So two arrays are given and we have to make either of the array to be equal to one number by minimum number of swap. Like here, if we can see, if we rotate the second and the fourth, this one if you replace with 2, then array will be 2 2 2, and the fourth one with these two, then the entire array will be 2 2 2 full of. And here we can't do that. Yeah.
Shashank, actually in first example, is it some mistake or because last element has 2 on both the sides? Like, is it an error? It's a dice,
No.
right? It can't have-
No, it's two different dice.
Two different sides of a dice.
No, there are A is one dice and B is another dice. Okay. So you can have the same number in both of them, right?
I think it's A is one side of the dice and B is the opposite side of the same dice.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's that way only.
Yeah, 2 on complement of 2 is 1 only. Like
So I checked what the dominoes is. So it's not a die. I just came.
It's more like a tile.
So it's not a die. So it's like a simple sheet. You can say just like a tile. Okay. So basically it's a linear. Whatever you showing is actually the way it is. Okay. So you have like a two faces of it every time. Okay. So on one face it's 2 and it's 5. Okay. I think you can Google something to see how it looks like. It's actually the same way it looks like. Okay, there's nothing like it's like a opposite side. Okay? I was also like struggling with this thing. Okay, initially to find if it's how is it a rotation.
that will not make much difference, right?
My bad.
Yeah. So if you
But
think
it
in terms
says
of
top
die,
and-
then it is not right. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. Good one, Dilip. Yeah.
So brute force. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I was thinking, like I'll find in array A which number is occurring maximum number of times, and I'll also find number is occurring maximum number of times here. If array is having any element which is occurring maximum number of times than B, then I'll try to go with this because it will take minimum operations, right?
Right.
Yeah, but again there is a glitch, like the number, the particular element which I'll switch from array 1 to array 2 may not be that element might not be 2 here. If it is 6 here and here it is 1, then that is 1.
And and you try the same way with the B and A, right? Opposite can be possible.
Right. So when in this, I think no case that what if the number, let's say A is A is of length 6 and three of the numbers are 2 and the rest of the three numbers are, let's say, 5. So we need to try for both.
If equal it is, right?
Right. So if one of the array is divided into equal, have all the elements in with equal frequency, we have to try for every possible element.
Exactly. Yeah, that's again a good case.
So I think in the worst case, we should will basically will be trying for every possible combination, every element in array A, right? So let's say we'll start with 2 and see if 2 works. Then we'll start with 1, then 2, then 4, then 2 and 2 again. Unless, and I mean, if we find the answer in the first pass only, like with index 0 only, then we can return directly. Not return, but like store minimum steps. So yeah.
N square it will be like.
So right, it will be like 2n square. Basically, we will trying for array A first and then array B. So yeah, 2n square.
So sorry, I'm just going a step back. So our aim is to equalize all the elements in one array.
Either of the arrays.
Yes.
Either you B or A.
Okay. In one of these arrays, all the elements have to be same.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we need to find the minimum number of swappings.
Rotations.
Yeah, rotations.
And rotation is like by swapping A of I and B of I, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
I was thinking like we can take each element from first element from A and B, like we have 2 and 5. Then we go to next index and see if either of them present on the next index of the A and B. Like we have 2 and 5. We go to next index, we have 1 and 2. So we have matching 2. We can keep 2. Then we move on to next index and see if it can form. That won't work, right? That would work. I was just thinking of.
Yeah, it should, right?
Two pointers is
sort of.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
but again here I mean this
Continuously, if you have different like 2,
combination,
5 and some 3, 4.
yeah, it will
And
be like that.
that's invalid case, right? Like,
So Dilip, the way you were saying, like, you start with the first index, correct? Okay.
yeah.
And then you look for either the A or B, whatever the value is, and then keep on comparing that with the next indexes. You traverse the whole array.
Yeah.
Okay. And whenever there is a mismatch, okay, then you actually swap and see if it is fine. Correct. And then you keep on.
Not enough swapping too. We just have a counter that counts and move on like that. So we just need a rotation, number of rotation.
Okay. I think that should work, right? But the only problem is you'll have to look for all the combinations, right? Means the value of A, okay, the value of B, okay, and then you have to again traverse it. Or no?
But we need to have in any place we need to have 2 everywhere. Like in this example, we need to make sure either A has all 2s or B has all 2s, right? So if the first index doesn't match with the second index, then that's the point we can reject it and say return -1.
Okay. Yeah, I think that should be fine, right?
But this would make problem easier, right?
Yeah, it seems so, but I'm not sure what others have to say. Let's see what others say.
I think we'll have to handle some cases, but I think this approach looks good otherwise.
Sorry, Ronnie, could you come again, please?
Yeah, I was saying that I think it looks like we approach looks good, but it might be that we have to handle some cases explicitly, like initially, and the pointer managing of pointer will be a little cumbersome. Otherwise, I think approach looks good.
Yeah. I was trying to think about different, you know, test cases or maybe edge cases.
Right.
So yeah, therefore, but he says that he already has something. Maybe we look as
Yeah, you should
What
share.
I was saying is, yeah. So what I was saying is, we are not sure what will be the number that can be like a that can be formed either in or either b. Okay, so uh, we can build like a helper function for us to check for every number. Okay, so we'll check for like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 6. Okay, so then we can take a minimum of it, then we can return. Yeah, so we'll have like a for that 12 functions. But yeah, but we'll have to, I think we can do it this way, so and we'll give the minimum of it.
oh, so you are saying like you go for because we have
All combination,
yeah, from 1 to 6. Okay, then you will have 1 to
and
6,
for
1 to 6, 12. Okay.
and for all both dies as well. Okay, so
Yeah, so therefore it will be 12. Okay.
yeah,
So that is also good, right? So we look for each and every number and then just look for each and every index of that array.
yes.
Yeah, that should also be fine. But then how do we come up with the minimum number of swaps?
Yeah, that is like you check which one is occurring maximum times. But no.
Okay.
So because if that number is occurring maximum number of times, so less number of swaps you will have to make in that array, right?
But maybe we'll be picking the number from the different array, from the other array.
Yeah.
So maybe, you know, the way what Divan was saying, okay, we start from 1 to 6, okay. So we take number 1 and look if that number 1 is in the first index of A and B, okay, and then keep on incrementing our count whenever we find it. Okay, so if we don't find it, it means that that is what is missing. So that many number of swaps. So that will be some number which will be minimum so far. Then we can keep on doing that for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And at that we'll have minimum number so far, whatever we have to swap, and then return it. So in that case, we don't have to do 12. We can just do it for 6. 1 to 6.
Okay, so like 6 iterations.
Yeah. Yeah, but 6 iteration inside that you will still have to iterate the whole array.
Right.
Yeah. So that's not very straightforward though. Yeah, so that should be some way of doing it in one pass, right?
Yeah. Going by that, even if we are doing like n square operation, even in that case we're actually just doing, we will have only 6 possibilities, right? So it will still be 6n. No? So the n square approach that Shashank was earlier suggesting, like we were discussing, in that n square was because we were trying for every possible number, right?
Right.
Like every index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3. That is why it was n square. But since we have a limit of like 6, like only value can be up to 6, then it will be 6n. We don't have to go n square, right?
Yeah, so it will be 6n, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but still, instead of 6n, it can be done in one
Yeah.
pass. The way Dilip was saying, one pass or 2 pass, something like that. So we can optimize that. So that was one way. You would like to share any approach? Okay, Shashank has an approach, right? So let's actually go through that first. or does anyone has an approach to share?
Use that one, but it was so like nice. So
I have solved by taking the extra memory, like having one total sum and then counting each like each array in having each temporary array for different this A and B as well. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen? So here I am taking extra memory because we know we'll need to have 6 only count. Size would be 6, so I'm taking this as a only 6 size, and then this is for element if it's in A, otherwise or it's in B. So the main part is like, for example, here first of all let me walk through with this example. Like, first of all, I get 2 and 5, 2 from A and 5 from B, and they are not same. So what they'll be doing it will go to else part, and in else part it will go to that particular index of 2 and mark it like and add it like +1, and similarly it would go to index of 5 at that array, this total sum array, and then it will again increment it. Similarly, it will increment in A and B as well, like go to that particular index of 2, and similarly at 5 it will increment it. Similarly, if I found that I'll be having the same element, it will, because it's the same element, we just need to increment and go to that position and increment it 1. So by this I'll be having so my total sum would be like, if I have 6, then it would be like A would be 2, then it will be 1, incrementing 5, 1. Again here 1, it will be 2 here, then it will be 3 because of this 2 and 6, and 6 here would be 1, and then 4 also increment 1, 2 here will go to 4, and here 2 will go to 5, and here 3 will be 1, and last is we have same element, so we'll just go to 1 and then increment it. So now we are over with our this array. What this loop will do, it will find if one of the index is in over here is equal to the length, and here length is 6. So it needs to be 6. If it is 6, then it will take the minimum count from A and B. Minimum in the sense which we have created. I haven't done here, but this array will be pointing out what are the elements it occurs, and how many times it occurs. Similarly in B also, how many times it occurs. Whosoever has the minimum element, minimum number, it will return it. And that's what it is doing. And if it doesn't have anything, it will return -1. And this would be in order of n, but with the extra memory.
So minimum of you are going through each and every index.
Till 7, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sonia, what does this total sum of I essentially represent?
So this would be giving me like which number is, so the main part is we need to find the number as well, which can occur like same number, which there is a chances of the number which are possible be to having same number in the whole array. And by doing this, we able to get that this number is a possible chance of giving us the same number because here we are incrementing both from a as well as from a b, that particular index. You getting my point?
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to get, yeah.
So because like
Yeah, I got
what we want over here, we want the same element with minimum number of swaps, which could be giving us like same number. It should be 2
Yeah.
2 2. So
Yeah.
so this would give us like which is the number which occurs maximum times. The simple answer is. And 2 is the number which is occurring maximum times. And here, and we don't know the number yet because we traverse it, we added it over here. Here it would come we'll be able to know that yes, 2 is a number which is having the equal length, and we'll just go with, and we want the minimum number from count A and this A and B array to give us the minimum number of swaps which we need. So if, so for example, in the B we have 3 2s and in A we have 4 2s. So obviously we need and only 2 elements. So we'll be taking count whosoever is the minimum count over here.
Total sum
Just
is
a
big.
question, like if we have equal numbers like 3 and 2 in both the arrays, but in the alternate way, what will the 30, 31, 32 lines do there?
So this would give us the minimum number. Like let me add it over here. I didn't add count A and count B over here. So let me. This is any initial array count A. How it is incrementing over here. For example, let me pass that indexes over here as well. I think 5 and 6. Okay. So what we have similarly, this would be going for count B as well. Okay, so we added this for total sum. Similarly, we are doing same thing for this as well. And because if we have the same number, we don't need any swaps or we don't need any count. So we are not doing that. So here, first of all, 2, we'll mark it over here, 2, 1, and then it's in B, it's 5. And then here 1, 2, it's 2 and 6. Here would be 2 and 6, 2, 4 and 2, 4 and 2. Here would be 2 and 3, and here 2 and 2. So that it will not be added. So here, if we take the minimum, we will get that. So what it is doing, it is going to that particular index. From here, we can say that yes, 2 is the number which is equal to the length because of this array. We know that its value is equal to the length of it. So it will go over here and it will check what's the minimum count of 2 only, because we know we need to go to that particular index and minimum count is 2. So we'll be returning 2 over here.
So you go to the second index because you have 6.
Yeah, because we know that only that particular index is equal to our length. So we just need, we need the count, what are the count over here, and we'll get the minimum count.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And yeah, so this is, but we can optimize it by removing this, by doing something else. We can optimize it.
Yeah, that's true. Even we can use a map
Yeah.
for the range, you know. So go
Yes.
into that and get it one.
Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah, one thing, Sonia. You said that this line number 34 would be triggered for that element which is having the maximum frequency, right?
Maximum frequency. Why maximum? Maximum frequency in the sense we need to have it in the length of, because we want our element, whosoever is a maximum count, it should be equal to our array size, whatever the size of the array.
It basically checks whether the answer is possible or not.
Right. All the possible candidates.
Yes.
Right.
I don't think it would be the maximum always.
If it is not the maximum, we'll need to return -1. Like here, if it is not the equal, then it will return -1. Because here, if we count, maximum is 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if it is on the same position, then we'll not be counting. So 3, this is on the same position, then we'll not be counting. We'll be counting as 1. So ultimately 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. But our array size is 5. So this will return -1.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we can switch to next.
In the solution, actually, for this problem, they have given one more easy approach, sort of what Dilip was discussing, right? So, Dilip, do you have something to share, or?
No, I just thought that approach at that point, but I didn't code it.
Yeah, but the way you are saying it is exactly that in the solution also.
Oh, is it?
I just saw that. Yeah, you're right.
I'm trying to code that now, but
Okay. So when you are done, you please share in the Discord.
yeah, sure.
Okay. Because it is a 2-pass solution.
Order
Okay.
of n, yeah.
Yeah. Order of n, yes.
Actually, if it's exactly same, okay, but if little different, you can explain that.
No, there are different variations to that also. So whatever is the best, you
Okay.
can actually, whatever you think better, you just share it, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So this is like binary matrix is given to us, and we are supposed to convert it to 0 matrix. Condition is like we can choose one cell at a time and flip all the 4 neighbors of it if they exist. And flipping definition is like 1 to 0 and 0 to 1. And pair of cells will be called as neighbors if they share one edge. And minimum number of steps we have to do this thing. If not found, -1 in that case we have to return. Okay, yeah. So this is your binary matrix, and finally they have converted it to 0, 0, and 0. I mean, a 0-based matrix. Yeah, and same for so on. This is the way like they have converted. So first they have made both 0 to 1. And then again they're flipping. They're not flipping actually. Just columns and making it as 1. Finally,
How are they like flipping?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, how are they not able to understand that?
So actually, you have to flip that location as well as its all neighbors, all the 4 neighbors.
Nearest neighbor.
All the four neighbors.
Yeah, that is what I got. Maybe.
Yeah, the ones you, yeah, the neighbors which have a common edge, we can flip those cells along with the current cell.
So the common edge will be only the top, bottom, and east and west, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Not the
Not the
diagonal.
diagonals.
Right.
Diagonal is not possible.
So in this example, like from the first conversion to the second conversion, what are the rows they are picked?
So it is flipping the cell at position 1, 0 and the one at position 0, 1 and 1, 1. So you get 1, 0, 1, 0.
No, I'm still not able to understand that.
Okay, how can I write on this? Annotate.
Yeah, annotate and then select that.
Okay. So we are flipping this cell first. This one. I think why is the color white?
You'll have to select the color. Yeah.
Yeah. We are flipping this. So this changes to 1 and the one above it changes to 0
Okay,
and the
got it. Got it.
right to it. Got it?
Right, got it.
But I'm not sure why we have to start from that location.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
Uh-huh.
And that's just one example. That's a route of obtaining a matrix of with all zeros.
Okay. Okay, so you start from that and then you modify, go to the second one. And then you actually go to the other one.
But directly I can do this only 1, 2, 0. I mean, right.
No. You cannot just flip that. If you flip that, you also have to flip the neighbors.
Right.
Yeah.
So in this example, there will be only two neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So along with the neighbors, we have to flip like.
Right.
And the condition is like we can't flip only one element, like at least two elements or something in order to flip something like that, or what?
No, it's like you have to flip that cell and all its possible neighbors.
Okay.
So I think, Harshit, in this case also, if we start always at the 0, 0 position in example 1, okay.
Okay.
And if you look at its neighbors, they both are zeros. Okay, so we don't do anything for this particular cell, but
Right.
we actually go to the next level, like the way we do for the BFS, right? So we go for that 1, 0 and 0, 1. So that will be one level and this will be the second level. And therefore we are doing all these two. So that will be the second level. When we complete second level, then we actually push the neighbors of that one. And so the neighbors of the last level will be 1, 1.
Sorry,
Right?
I
So
lost
we'll
you.
have 3 levels and therefore the answer is 3. That is what I'm thinking,
I lost you after you moved from the first cell, like from 0, 0.
Okay. So
Then you're saying that, yeah, go on.
if we are at 0, 0, then we know we have neighbors 1, 0 and 0, 1.
Right.
Okay. So both of them, all the three are zeros. So I don't flip anything for 0, 0. Right.
Okay.
But I already have pushed the 1, 0 and 0, 1 in my queue.
Okay.
So that will be my second level. And what is that they are doing over here? So they take the 1, 0 first and they go to that second one. Right. Let me annotate this one. Yeah. So when I start with these two, okay. So this first one actually will be the transformation. This will be my first transformation of this one. And this one actually will be the transformation for that guy, right? So I completed one level and this is my second level, right?
Yeah.
So when I do the second level, then again I'm going to look for its neighbors. So at that time, the neighbor is only going to be this one, right? So then in my third level, I'm having only one neighbor, right? and that is this one, and therefore I just flip that one. So therefore the output is 3. If we look at the BFS route.
Yeah, I got your point. Yeah. But for this example, it is clearly working. But
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was not able to, get why they started from a very odd position and then still they are getting 3. So I thought, okay, they are making 3 transformations. So 1, 2, and 3. But it doesn't seem so for each and every example. So you'll have to have some, you cannot just say, okay, I'm flipping 1, therefore that would be my output will keep on increasing by 1.
Yeah.
yeah,
Also, Santosh, when we are going from level 0 to level 1, in that case, from let's say we go from level 1 to level 2 now. So there is a possibility that the parent that is the node at level 0 that also got flipped, right?
Yeah, they will flip. They will flip. That is the reason we have to keep doing it to the end.
so Santosh,
But
you are flipping only if the number is 1, right?
Come again, Arshil.
So you are flipping only if the number is 1, is it?
So I'm checking for all the neighbors as well as my current location, current cell. If
Okay.
all of them are zeros, I don't flip, because there's no need of flipping if all are zeros, right?
Yeah.
And also
And
when I'm going through level
starting
2,
which
yeah, go ahead.
starting
I
which
think
cell you'll take, like here you have started from 0, 0. Uh, so in every case, we start from 0, 0 cell.
That's not
I
mandatory.
don't know. Yeah, they didn't say that. That's a good question. But I thought usually we'll start that way, right?
Yeah, normal way. Yeah, but
Oh,
maybe if you start from some other cell, you might get minimum number of rotations.
That
yeah.
is that is possible, but
Yeah,
our objective is only to find if all of them are zeros. So whenever I find anything zero, I just terminate the whole loop.
and that should be minimum also.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's so minimum, and therefore I'm looking for a BFS approach. It's the shortest path. Okay, so I'm thinking, okay, I'll start at always at 0, 0 and try to reach the last one, which is 3, 3. I think, right? The maximum is something like 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Santosh, just
but
one more question.
Uh-huh.
According to your approach, I think the minimum number of steps is bound to be lesser than the number of elements, which is n into n. Okay, because once we visited to a vertex, we not gonna visit it again. Okay? We gonna keep a check of the visited points. So it must be bound that the minimum number of steps need to be less than the total number of elements present.
Yeah.
And so is it always true that the number of steps is lesser than this? We're not sure. It can be, or finally there need not to be any answer as well.
yeah,
If
maybe.
there be,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
because
there might be an answer. I think there will be some answer. We're not sure if there will be answer, and it will be greater than n square. Okay, but it can be greater than n square. So that's like
oh,
something like there's a different induction if you want to prove.
okay. So you're talking about the example 4, right?
Not example. Yeah, I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, in that example 4, they are having a 3 by 2, no, 2 by 3 matrix.
Yeah,
And
there's no answer
we,
for this.
yeah, they have no
So
answer.
so it's found that it need not to have the answer. Yeah. Okay. So there's also a clause. So yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't get
So
that. How can that example 4 be -1? Is there a way to solve it, or it's not possible? Okay, even we forget the boundedness. Okay, we just say it's unbounded. We can do any steps. So is it still, are we able to transform it to zero matrix?
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Of course, if there is no solution lies for this arrangement, then there will be certainly some other arrangement as well for this for which the solution would not be lying. Okay? Because if I just put I will just make 0 comma zeros invert. Okay, so I will invert 1 comma 0 and 1 1. Okay, so that will show me a different arrangement, and this is proven that that arrangement will not also have a solution. So I think there will be, if there so I think if there is no solution for an arrangement, this only shows that there will be no solution for any type of arrangement for the given set.
Yeah, basically we cannot obtain that zero matrix starting with this.
Yeah, can say. I think may or may not be, but not sure. Yeah.
No, Arshit, come again. I didn't get your point. What you said.
This example 4, we're not able to obtain that a binary a zero matrix with this starting matrix. Like there's no way.
Or even if it's unbounded, we just
Uh,
keep on doing to the end, or maybe more.
So unbounded by, what do you mean by unbounded?
The way Devon was saying, right? It's now I'm just taking the minimum number of levels. Okay, so in that case it will be 3 or maybe 9, something like that. But if we are given, we can keep on recirculating, because you can do it endless. Don't use any
Yeah.
BFS, right?
Yeah, using that also we won't be able to get.
Really?
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
I mean that's. And the other thing, Santosh, I think what you are doing is kind of greedy. Like if you find a 1, you're always flipping it. I think we can always have a choice of not flip, as one choice of not flipping, because in the future we can have a current as a neighbor and then we can flip.
Yes.
Okay. So how means? Can you just give an example?
So I'm just going by the brute force. Like for every particular element, I can flip and I cannot flip. Like that's the way I have implemented. So
Okay.
just trying to align that with your solution. You are flipping it every step. Like if you find a 1.
Mm-hmm.
So that might I mean that is, it's possible that you get your answer, but we might miss out on true positives, maybe. Because we cannot it's possible that we do not flip, like we move on and then wait for the future parent to flip its child.
Okay. So it is better always to flip it, correct?
It is better to take 2 options, like the way I thought of this. Either we flip it, that would be one option, and the second is you don't flip it. Now take the minimum of these 2 with some base condition that if at the end we were able to get all zero matrix or not. Yeah, it's a bit complicated.
Yeah, so that is also good, because you're actually doing some standard way of implementation, right? Using something like a knapsack way, I would say.
Yeah, that's my go-to way.
Right. Yeah.
Falls into DP category kind of.
Recursive DP, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Santosh, rather than starting from 0 0, if you started from 1 1 itself, and not 1 1, this one in the first matrix, so that would take less number of steps, right? I mean, from here you will start BFS from 1 and then go to the next level. Since you are already seeing the 0, you won't do anything.
Yeah, might be possible, but I'm not getting why we have to start with that specific. Okay, but if it's a generic, program, we are given inputs. How are we going to find which cell we have to start, right?
So we can start with the 0, 0.
Yeah, so just by default, I'm starting with 0, 0. But if there is some optimum way to start it, and we can find that particular cell by some logic, then we can do. Yeah, no, not a problem. So are you saying that we should look only for if the value is 1 at one cell, then you start? Ishan?
No, but again, that will be like very narrowing down. Like, I mean, may not be generic.
Not possible, right? It should be okay. We can just run through a loop.
Yeah.
Anyway, it will be n square solution, right? In this also, if you are going to do
Minor
that.
optimizations will be there. Like,
Hmm.
And you check whichever where you are facing first time one, and then
Yeah.
that won't make a drastic what is it change in that. Or if we
Yeah.
find an element
Uh-huh.
surrounded by maximum number of zeros, that would be our optimal point, something like that.
Yeah. Because actually doing the BFS involves lot of conditions to take care
Yes.
of,
Yeah,
and there are a number of things because it's a matrix, right? It's not a normal
yeah.
graph, so it's not simple. I think the way Harshit says maybe a most optimum way to do.
Yeah, like either take
Right?
it
Yeah.
or. But again, there also I think a lot of cases you'll have to take care of.
But there will be still minimal, you know. Because if you look at the BFS, what we do usually means what I was trying, like construct a matrix, whole matrix, and put it in a visited unordered set, because I convert that into a string, okay, and just normalize the string and put it in another set, so it will be a visited set. And again, go through each and every queue, and my queue is also big. It's like a vector of vector. It's a two-dimensional queue, so that's huge space, you know and
Or
then
by
doing through all of this BFS for each and row and column. Yeah.
yeah.
So I thought that might be much easier to do.
Yeah, I think BFS, I mean, just looking, BFS would work like if we kind of implement it smartly.
Bidirectional BFS, both sides if we start from both the corners, extreme corners, and meet in the middle. So won't that optimize this?
Okay, so bidirectional BFS, that's interesting. But here we have the rows and columns are only 3. That's a constraint.
Oh, which
So we don't have much if you look at down. Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's
So it's not going to be a very
I
huge
think
matrix though,
yeah,
but the
yeah that.
computations will be too much.
But
Santosh, just one more thing. Uh, I think, yeah, this will be a BFS considering it as a graph. I think the possible next steps can be like the next vertices to this graph, connected vertices to this graph. And we are sure that there will be a solution if this graph is connected. Okay. So for the, let us take the case 4. Okay. So we think that the solution would not lie because this is not a connected graph for that. But for this, it is connected, and the second step is like the first connected vertex, and from this connected vertex is the third step, and from third is the result. Okay, so there will be like an endless tree also over it, but we have to find the minimum. So I think, yeah, this is like a BFS on to a tree. Okay, so yeah.
Okay, and that is the reason you are saying the fourth one would be a negative number, right?
Yeah,
Negative one.
because that is not a connected graph. Matlab that basically that is not linked to the initial origin vertex. Yeah, those 0, 0. Yeah, it's also some other vertex, but it's not connected in any way. So I think your approach BFS is actually the thing that is gonna be finally put into solving this question.
Well, no, actually, I went through the discussions and I saw so people are using it. So therefore, I thought maybe, and also when I'm looking at the problem statement, I thought it might be BFS or shortest path. But the
Right.
thing what you said in example 4, if you look at the example 4 and you are saying it's not a connected, but I see there is a connection, right? In the first column, we have 1, 1. So is that not a connected graph there?
One
yeah,
That
one.
zero
looks
one
like
and one
connected,
zero,
right?
Can you
0 1
can
and 1 0 is
uh,
connected. Yeah,
0, 0 and 1, 0, right?
Uh,
0
uh,
0 1
what I,
also.
what I mean by connected is like an arrangement of all the points. Can we just direct to the first option?
For
So
sure.
yeah, so this complete so we the first matrix is the complete vertex. So it's like an arrangement of zeros and ones. Okay. So this may lead to a second, or either it may lead to some other vertex as well, which is not shown, okay, because that may lead to a longer path, okay. But whatever shown to us is just the smallest path.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe possible.
So I think this is more a tree, I think. Yeah.
Right, right. It looks like a tree. If you consider that way, yeah.
Yeah.
So I went through a BFS in the discussion. So it is using a queue, but the complexity is exponential only.
Yeah.
So I think the way I've done it, I've also done using exponential complexity, but I haven't used a queue.
Okay.
So some
Can
sort of
you just display your solution?
yeah, okay. Yeah, my screen is visible.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I said, okay. So I'm calling this function helper, and I'm passing these two parameters, row and column, and I'll come to the base case later on. So my option one is that I'm doing nothing. I'm just moving along my column, and my second option is that I'm flipping, like I'm flipping that particular cell of ij. So this flip is that function which flips the matrix. So that is this. I'm making a this new matrix, and I'm flipping it.
So here, when you are flipping, you don't look at the value, right? You just
Right.
XOR it. If it is
Right.
0, it will be 1. If it is 1, it will be 0.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because that aligns with the problem statement. Correct.
Yeah. So I don't check whether it's 0. I just flip it.
Should not. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's just my second option. So second option is when I flip, and first option is when I do not flip, and I'm taking a minimum of these two. So now coming to the base case, so this is the base case when I reach the end of my column. So I simply do this, moving one row down, and my column then starts from 0. And this is the termination one when I've traversed my entire matrix. Now if this is equal, then I'm checking whether my matrix is 0 or not. So that I'm doing here. I'm just checking whether each of the cells is 0 or not. If it's 0, then I'm returning true. And if I find a 1, I return false. This is my proper exponential brute force. So if the answer is true, then I return 0. Else I return int max by 2. So now the reason for returning this is I have to take the minimum. So minimum of these two would be this, the lesser one. So it would be 0 plus something, like I'm doing plus 1 for the flip, like for the flip step. So that would return the minimum. And then I'm checking if my value is greater than int max by 2. So basically, if initially I took this as int max. That did not work because int max plus something would go out of bounds. So when I don't have a solution, I would be returning int max plus like if one of the intermediate steps I flipped something, so that would be int max plus 1. So that would go out of bounds. So I took int max by 2, and if that is if my value is greater than or equal to that, then I return -1. Otherwise, I return the value, like if it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. This looks very easy to follow also, right?
Yeah, this is like the typical brute force one.
I don't think so. It's a brute force. Actually, it is a more efficient way of doing it. And
No, it is like if you see we have 4 cells, right?
Uh-huh.
So these would be 16 2 to the power 4, because I'll be going into this base case 16 times. By the look of it, I think I can optimize this, but I kind of copy easier.
But BFS also, usually you have to go through each and every row and column, each and every cell. And for each and every cell, when you are actually coming out of the queue, you are going to look for this 0 matrix. You are trying to go through each and every eigen cell to see if it's 0. You know? So everyone
but-
actually has that implementation.
But in a typical BFS, like, do we come back, or just we go through the entire sequence at once and we are done?
At once only you'll go.
Yeah, that is better, right?
Yeah. So for the BFS one, I saw this one, the first BFS. The complexity is the same only, 2 to the power something it says. But I think he's handling it really well, like using some bit vector.
Yeah, the keyed bit vector, right? Yeah. So he's using a bit vector actually to, and then he's actually pushing all of them
Yeah.
in an integer because it's the array size is small, right? 3 by 3. So you can use
Yeah.
integer there. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the standard BFS. But
Yeah.
like, how is he maintaining this? Bit vector.
It's just like creating an integer there. Yeah.
What is bit vector doing there?
It's just forming an integer, like whatever we have ones and zeros. Okay, then he's just shifting it. You know, if you look at, I don't know what the line number you can say, but if you look at after the 2 for loops, he's
Okay.
doing
The
that,
left
right? He's
shifting.
shifting 1. Yeah. Left shifting to 1. And then,
copying it.
yeah. So the way you actually, when you have to extract each and every digit from an integer, and then we have to put them back. Similarly, that is the way he's doing, but it's like constructing a binary number.
Okay, and then he's using that bit vector to keep that visited thing.
Yeah, visited and yeah, and also for flipping, or not using for flipping. Yeah, it's only for visited. Yeah. No, he's using for the queue also. He's pushing that in the queue also.
Yeah,
So,
that
Yeah,
yeah. So it becomes very easy because when you that whole number is 0, it means it's a 0 vector, 0 matrix, correct? So that is very easy to follow. So if you look at line number something while you have finished 2 while loops, he says why if q front is false, it means if it is 0, then you return the distance. That's a very easy condition. You don't have to go through each and every cell to find if it's 0.
Okay, so basically
how-
my base condition is this condition only. Like, if it's all 0, then he's returning the distance.
Right. And distance is nothing but a level.
Okay, so I don't understand, like, how is he using this to keep track of repetitions? Like, how is he avoiding the repeated part?
So because whenever you are going through each and every cell, you are flipping the other neighbors as well as the cell itself, right?
Right.
So that will form a very unique number each and every time. And that number, if you store, and even if you go and traversing, as Devan was saying, if it's unbounded, if you remove that if q dot front, if you remove that condition, if it keeps on running, you know, you will hit on those test cases again and again. So that will prevent it from forming a visited. That is only one
And
thing.
how-
But if you visit through other routes also, you know, the BFS, right? You can visit through other routes also. So that will prevent it from forming a cycle.
Right.
And how is it he tracking the visited states? How is it keeping the state that this arrangement of matrix is visited? Just
He's putting it in a vector, this map, sorry.
so
Yeah.
how is it putting? How is it he putting this into a
So
vector?
it would be a set of integers, I think. Yeah, this thing.
Yeah, set, unordered set. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So, but how is it using this bit manipulation onto it?
So actually, the cell values of the whole matrix, he is converting
Yeah,
it
yeah.
into an integer by that
Okay,
create bit vector.
Yeah.
okay.
When you flip anything, he's counting the entire hash, not the hash, the entire, he's going through the entire matrix and doing this thing.
Yeah. So in our case, like we have 0, 0 and 0, 1. So it will be a number 0, 0, 0, 1. So it will be 1, right?
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sir.
Yeah, it's very difficult to come up with this algorithm, I would say. It's
Yeah.
not so easy. It looks very easy when everything is implemented. Yeah. Yeah, but if we actually, remember such type of standard way of implementing such odd things, it might be helpful for us in some other approach. Even if you are not able to come to the complete implementation details, but we can still use some parts of it and explain the main crux of the whole algorithm. So I think most of the interviewers also will appreciate that, because that's a lot of work, right?
Yeah. Some other problems also we can.
Yeah.
So this is which discussion question? Which
It's the
discussion
first one.
example?
The
It
first
was
one.
the first one, right? Yeah, in the C++.
Yeah, okay. Bit vector and regular BFS.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was good.
Yeah.
So we are crossing the time also. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Thanks, Harshit. Yeah. Thanks for this one. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Diwan.
Thanks
Thanks,
everyone.
Sujan. Yeah. Ronnie. Yeah. And
Thank you.